Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome, everybody, back to another Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is your Impact Wrestling Weekly Review. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as you can see, or if you are listening, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, good friend, and tag team partner. We're back as a tag team today. Dave is off. I don't know where Dave is. He's going to Nuki, and he's surfing, or I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's away this week. Dave, I don't know where he is. But he'll be listening to this. But I'm joined by my good buddy, Mr. Adam Cousins. Adam, happy Friday, sir. How are you, mate?
Happy Friday, sun is shining. Yeah, Dave is down that length of the down that length for the UK. I wouldn't have thought he'd be surfing with his
not with his back injury. Yeah, that's probably maybe just like a lazy river, Dave, or something.
The good news is he will still be here for our Collision Forbidden Door stuff that we're doing, so we won't have to miss him for too long. And I think he's recovering after yesterday's interview with Buff, to be honest.
Ah, what an interview, by the way, mate. That was kudos. I'm gutted I couldn't make it, work being work. But no, great interview, mate. Buff, what a dude, by the way. I mean, you hear some things about wrestlers, and he was such a down-to-earth guy, mate. I listened to most of it today. I thought it was a brilliant interview. But we're here to talk all things Impact. But before we do, lads, Impact had some big news over here in the UK this week, didn't they, mate?
Yeah, well, finally, after so many years, we already knew, obviously, we had it on Challenge TV for so long, lost the deal. We couldn't find it for love, no money. And now, finally, they're on DAZN, which is a channel on Sky. So they will be, I think it's Fridays at 11. They will start on the show weekly again. So we finally get some Impact Wrestling back, which I think is great news for us and great news for Impact.
Yeah, do you reckon that could lead? Obviously, they're in Australia next week. When the weekend WWE over here this next weekend. Do you think that having them back in the UK could lead to a live Impact being recorded in the UK, or just a tour like they're doing in Australia, which is being broadcast on Fight TV? I think next weekend.
It is. Yeah, they're in Chicago for Chicago Sizzle tonight as well. I certainly think 2024 they'll be over it. I think that's. Yeah. I like to think so. It probably won't be, but maybe Wembley. They used to run Wembley Arena, didn't they?
That was good when me and you last went. Yeah, it was. I'm hoping they do. The company deserves it. I know they advertised on this week's Impact. They got their 1,000th episode coming up in September, which is not far from me. I'm going to be in Washington. It's in New York. You never know.
There you go.
You never know. But yeah, 1,000 episodes of Impact, mate. I think for this company to even still be around. After all its trials and tribulations, I don't know what you think, mate, but Dixie Carter, Jeff Jarrett, all the stuff that's gone on, the Bischoffs, the Hogans, way before that, it was, we said last week, there was like a who's who of wrestling. They've had the Hardys, they've had everyone, you name them, they've been on Impact at some stage or another. Are you just really pleased that the company's still going and that they're still trying to move forward, but they're not like we said last week, they're not trying to be something they're not thinking, right, we need to compete with an AEW. We need to try and compete with. They're never going to do that again, in my opinion, for a very, very long time.
Yeah, no, I think it's just let them creep under the radar as nicely as they go in. The quality of the wrestling on there is brilliant. They've got some great talent on there. They've got. We had this when we had that Matt Raywald on. We were saying about the talent's a mixture of, great experience and some amazing up and coming talent. And I think that was showcased really on Impact this week. So. Yeah, I don't even think AEW and WWE should compete. Just leave it. Just be separate.
That's the only thing these days. I mean, I saw you getting into some beef on Twitter again this week. WWE fans and I was like, I logged on some of the Twitter. I checked for everyone that know me and Adam and Dave, we all have access to the HGT Buckle Twitter. I logged on. I was like, how many notifications? I was like, what's going on here?
What it was about, and this is totally different to Impact Wrestling, was someone said about Randy Orton coming back, and someone said, well, his dad said he didn't. Dad said he's not coming back. And all I said was, according to the rumours, he's back at SummerSlam or just before. And that was it. Oh my God. It was like, you questioned the guy and he was like, well, I believe his dad. Now, you do know his dad was a wrestler and kayfabe is still alive in some cases.
Yeah, his dad was a wrestler in the 70s and 80s. Kayfabe, he wants it to be the surprise. He wants to have the pop. His dad's not
stupid.
Silly.
And if he's coming back, great. And as long as he's healthy and as long as any wrestlers are healthy, come back and do your stuff. But I literally didn't even say I don't think he isn't. I literally said according to report. Oh my God, you thought the
I logged on in like the afternoon. I was like, "Oh, Adam's been busy." But Anyway, we digress. Impact this week, mate. Good follow up from last week. What did you like? What did you not like about Impact this week? I've got one main gripe that me and you spoke about before we started recording, which I'll get into in a minute, and it was nothing really to do with the wrestlers or wrestling.
No.
But what did you make of this week's Impact, mate?
I thought last week what we said was we wanted it to come back because last week they had that massively long promo, didn't they, at the start of the show, which ate up probably about a quarter or just over a quarter of the actual show. My thing last week was I wanted to see wrestling this week, and they delivered on that. And some of the stuff they've delivered on was absolutely fantastic. I said Speedball Bailey. Do you know who he kind of reminds me of? And the listeners probably won't know from his attire, Corey McRae.
Oh, yes. He's a little bit
Combat sport bottoms. And,
it was a good opening match as well. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. But look, I wanted wrestling on the show, and we got that in abundance. And, that's what I must say. I didn't say this last week, and I should have done. Hanny Fan and Raywold on commentary.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Fantastic. Very, very, again, under the radar, underrated. Yep. Raywold, like you say, we've had him on this show. Speaks very well, so knowledgeable of just all things wrestling. And we've said many times you want wrestling people involved in wrestling. You don't want people from the corporate world coming in and trying their hand at it. Which, fair play, but yeah, something like Matt Raywold on commentary, mate, incredible. And I like the fact they do that little post show thing afterwards as well. I don't know if you on Impact Plus. I like that you get a little 10 minutes. WWE and AEW could learn a lot from that. I really enjoy that when they analyze, they break it down, and it's like a mini show for them to break down what we've just pretty much like what me and you are doing now.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do it for you if you want, guys.
HCT Buckle, if you want to talk to us, Impact Wrestling. Indeed. But no, I thought it was a solid show, mate. My only gripe, mate, like me and you started just before we hit record, dude. I know we said last week we have to get used to this crowd. For me, wrestling has always been about crowd interaction. Wrestlers feed off crowd. We've been very fortunate. We've spoke to wrestlers and we know how much they feed off crowd interaction. Impact was in Ohio again. I'm guessing that's where they're based, or they do quite a few shows.
Based in Canada.
Based in Canada, but they seem to have been in. I guess they film a block of 3 or 4. This crowd in Ohio, mate. It was like watching wrestling during COVID. Yeah. I thought I was back in the Thunderdome. They were dead, mate. For the main event as well, and for the opening match, which was great. You don't get me wrong, you can hear the wrestlers calling their spots, but every time something big happened, and I know we said we have to get used to this last week, but there's getting used to it, and then there's the ridiculous. These wrestlers were pulling off some amazing things, and all you can hear is, and I'm like, what? I've been to, me and you have been to many UK shows now, and you hear bigger pops or you hear better interaction. Is that the only thing for you, Adam? Me and you have watched wrestling our whole lives. We know how important a crowd is. I'm not expecting it to be Roman Reigns pop or flipping, MJF pop, but my God, this week on Impact, I think I noticed it more, maybe because I was watching it in quite a quiet place. I just had my headphones in and I was like, wow, they're dead. Absolutely dead.
Yeah, I mean, it is different. It's definitely different. I don't think, I think we'll be sitting here in 12 months' time saying the same thing. I don't think it's going to change. When they come over to places like the UK and they do Australia, I reckon there'll be a bit the decibel and just the crowd, because of the excitement, because we don't get to see a lot of it all the time. Especially with Impact, it'll be the first time Impact have toured here in years. So if they do come over, they'll get that loudness of the crowd. And
is it the arena? Is it because you look at NXT, it's at that university, and it's hard because it comes through the TV. But when you watch NXT, I think, oh, this crowd are quite raucous. Obviously, they're all young. It's at a university. This crowd at Impact, the poor wrestlers, you can even see the wrestlers sometimes having to just motivate themselves because the crowd are just, hey, boy, well done, boy. And you're like, come on, man. I don't know what you thought, mate. I know we have to get used to it, but this, for me, this week, it was. They might as well have not been there.
Well, you've just done the short of the Impact Wrestling thing with
make a note at the time.
Make a note. I mean, the crowd. Luckily enough, I suppose not that I got used to it, but I kind of doned it out a little bit.
Just concentrating on the wrestling more. Yeah,
I was concentrating on that, but I mean, it makes a massive difference. When we've been there and you've heard. As you say, you're not expecting these massive. No,
I'm not expecting Roman Reigns kind of or John Cena kind, but I'm expecting something. Bully Ray and all that there in the main event, pulling off some great moves, and all they're getting is, and you're like, what the? Like two guys in the back have had too many pina coladas, and they, chanting saying a Bully Ray. That's the only thing for me that's letting Impact down. I don't know if it's a case of them having to move around the country, or maybe getting not bigger venues, but just somewhere, like you say, they're in Chicago tonight. That crowd's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
When they go to Canada, if they're in Canada, Montreal, amazing crowd. Hopefully when they come to a Wembley Arena, we know that crowd's going to be raucous. So maybe it's just them selecting where they go, and that will help their product. Because if the crowd's better, the wrestlers are going to, they're going to feel it a little bit more. But for me, that was the only thing that let down a great wrestling show, which I thought this was.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was a great wrestling show. We might as well just get cracking into the first match. It was 6-man. Was OVE versus our good friend Brian Myers. We know Matt Cardona very well. Well, we know Matt Cardona always been on the show. We don't actually know him that well, but
no, he was meant to come out for dinner the other day. He didn't turn up.
He wants his Nando's. Which was a really good 6-man. And again, it shows. I love Sami Callihan. Sami Callihan is. We're talking people like with wrestling minds. I think he has his own school. I think he's got something out there, but he, for me, is absolutely. I can't get enough of Sami Callihan. I want to see more of him. I can't wait until we see more. Really, I mean, at the end of the day, though, the Brian Myers in a good hands. One with Brian Myers with the aptly named roster cut.
Yes,
that's the finish. Which
interference from the Moose that interfered in the
Moose did come out. Yeah,
he signed a huge deal at Impact last week. By the way, he's probably apparently the biggest deal in Impact history.
That is very Moose is a good time. He's been there years. Remember, he was kind of there when they last come over here, weren't they?
Yeah, I think he's up there with Bully Ray. He's a stalwart of Impact, and I can't imagine that he has not had offers to go to an AEW or a New Japan or even an NXT. He's that good. And for the fact that he's committed, I think it's good for Impact to see that someone like him has just signed a whatever year deal it is, was 3-year deal, whatever it is, and multi-million pound or dollars deal. I think it's important that Impact keep people like him because, if you do want to keep slowly climbing that ladder, you're going to need people like him on your roster.
You need a core. And that's what they lost. Because they were focusing before they had like Styles, Joe, Daniels, Kazarian, who's on the show, the machine guns that are on the show. And then you cut that away because you were hiring Tomko and people like that were being released from the WWE. You were forgetting what brought you to the dance and was
more focused on trying to win rating wars that you were never going to win.
Or just sign additional talent. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with signing new talent, but don't forget what brought you to the dance. And Moose is one of these guys now going forward that Impact just need to build it around. The Speedball Baileys, the Mooses, obviously Bully Ray's still there, and Whitey's still there. Could get the best.
Frankie Kazarian, you got these good people in the building.
Yeah, you got to just make most of this. I mean, Jonathan Gresham, we'll talk about in a minute. It was absolutely fantastic talent, and they need to concentrate on those guys. Yes, bring them in, bring the Trinities in, and people are going to make. Maybe bring the people in that will actually make a difference rather than just making up numbers.
Yeah, and you don't want people just there for like a paycheck or something like that. You think back in the day when they got like a Nash and a Hall, they were done. You know what I mean? They'd made God knows how many millions of dollars in the WCW, WWE, and Impact just thought we'll get you because of the name you are. And if you remember back to the Attitude Era, WWE went, well, we're going to create our own stars. And we now sit here and talk of them as Hall of Famers. Austin, Rock, you know what I mean? All these guys, Mick Foley was known, but they made their own. They were like, okay, we're not going to go out and we're not going to spend thousands of dollars to keep Randy Savage or Hogan or Luger. Do you know what? We'll go to what we've got in what was then developed OVW, Randy Orton, John Cena. We'll get them all up through the ranks. Yeah. And and hopefully Impact are now going, okay, do you know what? We don't need you get Trinity. Great move.
Yeah,
like you make a great point. Get someone in that's going to impact your roster for the better, not just there for the money.
Yeah, elevate it with talent like that, but don't just do it for the sake of it.
Like WWE show, wasn't it? Elevation? Is that WWE?
Dark Elevation.
Do you remember that? Yeah, God, yeah. They got rid of that live. They got rid of that lively, didn't they?
They did. Anyway, there's a bit of a backstage stuff between Eddie Edwards and Kazarian, and we'll get into that later because it was whether they could trust each other or whether Frankie could trust Eddie really. And we're getting back out. Then Callahan was doing his nut backstage, and he runs into Rich Swann, and he said he knows what Myers alike, Brian Myers and Moose alike, so he's got his back going forward. And then they shook hands and had a hug, and that was it. And then we moved into a Dirty Dango versus Bhupinder Gujjar. Good old Dirty Dango.
Good old Fandango, Dirty Dango. Yeah, it was a quick match. It was it happened, and then he got a cell phone out, and it was a bit like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah, I'm interested to see more of Dirty Dango. I like the way the commentator team referenced his old, when he done his little bit of his old gimmick.
This is old Dango here.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. But again, I mean, I thought it was just, someone like him. I know the character that he is now, but I think he feeds off crowd reaction. He wants the crowd to hate him now. Yeah. And they were just there. Like you could tell he was physically looking at the crowd, looking for a reaction. And they were all a bit like, what do you want, boy? I didn't really, but quick match. Obviously, they're building it to go somewhere.
Yes. We'll find out. I know they're
Santino. It looks like they're building it to have a match with Santino and him, because he come out and done the.
Yeah, so the bit about that was before we started watching this. I think Dango actually blindsided him backstage, and it was a mystery. Okay. They were doing remember the old-fashioned files that him and Breeze used to do.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
They were doing like who done Santino, and it turned out to be Dango that done it. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're angling for a match at Slammiversary. I'm guessing.
Maybe. Could be. Could well
Santino in the ring will be amazing.
Santino's always fun. He's brilliant. They had a bit of a weird skit after. They went backstage with Havoc and Rosemary.
Hang on. Yeah, you might need to help me here. Uh-huh. Is the storyline is they've lost their mind? They forgot what they looked down and I was like, I have no clue what's going on right now.
Yeah, you have to go back a bit. So Rosemary used to be part of Decay. She used to come out sort of like a zombie ghost kind of thing. So she was always that painted face.
Sounds like most of the girls I used to meet on a Friday
night. Yeah, sounds like a night out in a loop. That's me. I'm never going to go looping. Yeah. But anyway, so she had a painted face, and Havoc was the same. They were like the Death Dolls. And I think she went through a teleport door with Father James Mitchell about a month, and then ever since then she's now known as Courtney, which is her real name, Courtney.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a bit of element of them trying to get their marbles back, shall we say? Anyway,
only in wrestling.
Anyway, they ran off. It was quite funny. Then Zicky Dice passes the verbal test to become a referee, which was
I saw. Yeah, honestly, I was like, this is like watching wrestling in the 80s,
which I thought was quite funny. But then we got back to some action, which is really well wanted. So the design against Mike Bailey and Jonathan Grisham. I'm not quite sure what that whole mask thing from Grisham is. I'll have to find out about that. But they took on Con, who used to be the guy in the Ascension.
Yeah, we mentioned him last week, didn't we?
The big guy. And obviously him, as well as Alan Angels, who used to be in the AEW, part of the Dark Order. Mm-hmm. And it looks as if they were heading for the win. And Alan Angels hit that brilliant Spanish flyer. And then he went to the top to hit the frog splash. And Cody Deaner, who was on the outside, was like, hey.
He had the ump,
That's where you talk about the crowd. There,
I heard. Yeah, you heard everything there, and you were like, you literally, and you could see the dude like, I don't really want to be. He wanted to be heard, but you could hear a pin drop in that arena when he was like in that kind of like promo like segment of the match with him, and I felt so sorry from there, man, because you want the crowd to be into it, and like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's where it is. I don't know. Maybe Ohio just don't like getting interaction with wrestling. I don't know. I'm never going to go watch wrestling in Ohio. I know that.
No, and then then obviously Speedball hit his finish, and that was it. Mm-hmm. They won the match, and it teases that more dissension. It's looking like they're going to split up the design. It's or is someone going to come back now? Funnily enough, and I don't know. This isn't a spoiler. I don't know. But before he left for WWE, again, where we never saw him again, they stabbed Eric Young as part of getting him out of the design. So one wonders whether he's going to miraculously get brought back to life and come back.
Only in wrestling could you use that?
Cena got stabbed that time, didn't he, by Carlito's bodyguard?
Yes, very true. Well, Vince McMahon got blown up in a limo once, and he's still here. You know, I mean, Hornswoggle's his dad. This is wrestling, but yeah, I think Eric Young could have his 1,000th comeback at Impact Wrestling, and if he does, it would be good to see him because his in-ring work is great on the mic. Yeah, another great mind involved in the business.
You listen to our interview of Alexandra Wolf that we done. He'll tell you all about Eric Young on that. Don't worry. They took us to a little bit of a throwback when Aldis last won the title in 2013.
Oh, with Jeff on the when last time probably Jeff had a half decent match. Mate, I heard the Dynamite review from this week. Oh, dude, man, I think the Hardys are done.
Yeah,
hang them up.
I thought you meant Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy.
No,
going on.
He's just no.
No, okay.
No, I think the Hardys are done, mate. When you see them there, and Dixie. How bad was Dixie Carter's acting, by the way?
Well, again, if you're looking, you want to know the reason why it went tits up in the first place, watch our podcast of Angelina Love.
Yes, she was not a Dixie Carter fan.
She was quite blunt with that answer, to be quite honest. Anyway, we move on. We're going to get sidetracked by the old TNA. Jimmy Jacobs, was nice to see Jimmy Jacobs, actually. He's out of Impact, which is another good get. But then backstage, he reads a statement from Aldis. Was absence due to threats stemming from last week's absence.
His family got threatened. Everyone got threatened.
And he said that Nick will be back next week to explain himself. And then Jimmy Jacobs makes a slight snidey remark, which I think he then gets super kicked in the face. And then Chris Sabin went, "You changed your mind then?" And he went, Yep. And then I love that. That's a quality thing. I love that.
Good gimmick.
Yeah, lovely gimmick going forward. And so then they just walked off. Taylor Wilde and Killer Kelly was next. I have to admit, I don't know a lot of these.
No.
First time.
I'm learning, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. I thought it. Again, look, we're not. I say this all the time when we have guests on. Like, we're by no means wrestling specialists. Dave Meltzer made his millions by doing this sort of shit, and he doesn't have a clue what the fuck he's talking about half the time.
He's just sold out at a flipping event in London. God knows how many tickets, mate. So this time next year, if me and you ain't hosting an event in London to thousands of people talking bollocks, then we're in trouble.
Exactly that. The Killer Kelly put her in basically it was a roll up, wasn't it, for a win?
Yeah.
Then the Coven come out. And then Marsha Slamovich, who I have heard of, who's very, very good, comes out with a chain. They took him out, they retreated, and they stood tall. So I'm guessing that's leading to a tag match later on. We saw the replay of last week with D'Amore and PCO. And he basically, some more just cut a promo, really. So he's going to rain holy hell in Windsor when they have their match. And obviously that is his last match before his leave of absence. But there you go. Windsor, Canada was where the Windsor, Ontario was where.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, anywhere. I'd be interested to see, because obviously they have filmed these. I'm guessing they filmed 3 or 4. I'm guessing, because they don't record every Thursday night. So I'm guessing it's old school kind of record 3 episodes like NXT used to when it first started. I'm guessing, hopefully, I don't know where Impact's due to come from next week. I pray to God it's not in Ohio. I mean, Jesus Christ. But it'd be interesting to see what happens, mate.
Yeah, I have to admit that I'm a big fan. You know what we're like of entrances. And we love an entrance.
We do.
Joe Hendry.
Oh, yes, sir. Jesus Christ.
We're talking people that sings the entrance. I know you don't like that, but then you've got the claps and oh my God. But if you have not seen it, go onto YouTube or something, or watch Impact and just put Joe Hendry entrance in. He's absolutely astounding. Brilliant. Yeah. It's fantastic. Anyway, he's the digital media champion. When he took on, we need Dave for this.
Don't look at me, mate.
Yuya Umura, him. Yeah.
Can't wait for Dave to watch this back.
Dave's going to have a field day. Struggle with that. Well, that's why I need him on Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
Forbidden Door will be like you trying to order a Chinese while drunk.
Me trying to order a Chinese sober, let alone drunk. Anyway, this was a really good back and forth. I liked it. Really liked it. Hendry hits a standing ovation slam for the win. But the interesting that they had Kenny King come out as well about that. And that's going to be they're teased a little bit there for that, which is interesting. But they also set a few more matches for the Down Under tour.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I would have to. I mean, one of them, I think it's Friday. Is going to. I don't think I'll watch it live because it's 10 o'clock in the morning for us. So I'll be at work.
Well, Friday morning. Next Friday morning.
So next Friday.
I'll be all over that before we go Money in the Bank.
So next Friday is 10 a.m. on Fight TV for us, and the Saturday one's the same, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Saturday one and Monday, but I'll be able to watch the Friday one. I'll do that before my son finishes school. Before we
there you go. Yeah, so it's perfect for if you're at home, like you say, if you're at home during the day next week, mate,
I'm
you
off
can.
Next Friday.
There you go.
There we go. So set for some of these matches have been set. I'm looking forward to every one of these.
It's looking like a good event.
So Joe Hendry, Eddie Edwards, which is going to be awesome. I think that's for the Digital Media Championship. Chris Sabin, I think, is defending the X Division against Kazarian. And I'm not sure if they're defending this. ABC, the Bullet Club ABC, the other member, are going against the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at
that. For me is take. I say this a lot on this. Is a take my money matches. Those three alone, I'll take my money matches. And next week on Impact, Chris Sabin takes on Trey Miguel. Trinity's wrestling next week against Jai Bedell, and of course the wonderful Nick Aldis comes back to to address everything that he done.
Yeah, you mention Leo Rush, didn't you? Yeah, you said that. Rush. He's on this too. Yeah, it'll be good to see him because obviously he's had runs with like we say, we know him from AEW. He had a run in WWE. Bobby Lashley's. He seems to have dotted around again. This is what I like when Impact get people like him in, because I think
the only problem with Leo Rush is he's had more retirements than Ric Flair.
That's some retirement.
That's the only thing, but he's very, very good and very, very talented. So again,
he's a better wrestler than Ric Flair.
Well, yes, in your opinion. By the way,
beers and beatdowns are going to kill me.
The top 10, I know we're deviating here, but the top 10 managers, we're in for a beating.
Next time we see beers and beatdown, when we travel down to Wales, I think they're going to kick the living shit out of them.
Yeah. But we need to dive about Leo Rush. Yeah, great get. If this is a one-time thing, hopefully they'll get him back. He's a great talent. He's had a few. I know he retired. I think the last time
he's had a lot of injuries, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, so hopefully he's back and he's fresh and healthy, and if he is, it'll be another great get for Impact if they can get it done and get him, get him healthy, which is the main thing. But it's main event time, and this was Macklin and Bully Ray versus Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. The whole point of this for me was, could Kazarian trust Edwards? I think we kind of got the answer.
It was kind of his fault, and it wasn't his fault. Obviously, Bully Ray shoved it. I can see where they're going with the storyline. Very clever booking, very clever writing. But I thought the main event was really good. They really delivered. And again, the crowd just let it down for me because these boys were busting their ass to zero reaction. And I mean zero reaction. Bully Ray is still, and I say this every week, he's one of the best in the business.
Oh, he's fantastic. I loved it when they showed at the start, they'd done the opening credits and it went, I have a complaint. Went back into last week, which is absolutely, he's
my name is Bully Ray.
I'm a victim.
That
was absolutely, I love that. It's outstanding. But anyway, so what happened at the end was Eddie Edwards super kicked Shelley. Was it Shelley? Yes, it was.
It was. It was.
Yes, super kicked him. He's Kaz, not Shelley. Jesus Christ. Super kicked Kaz. And then
he didn't mean to,
He didn't mean to, and then Macklin snuck in and got the pin and gave the heels, or Macklin and Bully Ray, the victory. And I think this whole thing was that I think they were trained by the same guy, wasn't they? And that's
Killer Kowalski. And he swore in his like memory that he wouldn't betray him. Basically swore in his life. Well, he's passed away now, bless him. But swear on his memory that I'll never double cross you. But they were clever the way they done it, and obviously, they're going to set up more matches for Slammiversary coming up in a couple of weeks, which I'm guessing Frankie.
Well, Macklin gets his rematch
in Australia.
And
do you reckon there'll be any title changes in Australia?
Well, we said this last week, and I'll say this again. So they make, because this is where Impact Wrestling do something really great. They will give you an implication to a title match if they've announced something. Yeah,
if so and so wins here, then they'll be at Slammiversary kind of thing.
That's where it throws the doubt, because we know if they say on Raw or even on AEW that MJF or Seth Rollins or anyone is defending his title, but they've already got a match planned for
pay-per-view,
they will not offer an explanation. Say, well, if he loses this match, then it's going to be so. They never do. So you never expect the change. Impact have been very clever with this, and they've already given
the seed
implications, and it plants the seed. If they don't change, they don't change. But at least they've given you a reason to guess that.
It makes you want to. I mean, makes you want to go and buy the pay-per-view on Fight TV to watch it in the Australia tour. I mean, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I'll be watching it. I mean, again, do I expect title change? No, but at least they've given us a if they do, this is what's going to happen at Slammiversary. So they've done a very clever job of making you put that doubt in your mind of, well, actually, they did say, though, that if they do win, then this happens over here. So they've given you, this positioned it in a way. WWE, AEW don't do that, so you never expect that change to occur. At least they've given us the seed of doubt for it to occur on the Australia tour.
As kind of still outsiders looking in, what changes would you make at Impact if you were there backstage and said, Adam, we just want to, as a guy who knows his wrestling, and let's not be honest, we're just fans that have watched it since we were kids. But we're kind of, we break it down every week and we talk on our shows about wrestling, and we've been very fortunate enough to speak to former wrestlers. But if you were there, just in the short time that we've been watching it and we've been reviewing, because we watched TNA back in the day, what changes would you make?
Literally bigger arenas. That at the moment they're doing everything else right for me.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement.
I've got no criticisms with anything that. I mean, I said last week that promo went on too long, but it was a 10-man, and you had to get them all, I say, which is fair enough. Everything else they've done so far, and we've only watched it 2 weeks, so we were only early into our, or watched it again the last 2 weeks. Even if they just, I don't know, had a couple of thousand in there, they could probably fill it. And there was probably about 400 or 500, maybe, if that. It didn't sound like it, said more like 4 or 5. But if they just had that, as you said before, wrestlers feed off the fans, and even when you're watching it, it makes a little bit of difference to have that.
Even for us, I was watching it on the Impact Plus app, and even as me, I'm sitting there sometimes, like you said, we mentioned the women's match, and I was kind of like, I didn't want to forward it, I wasn't going to do that, but I'm kind of like, it's a good match, fun with it. It's nothing. I can hear everything that the wrestlers are doing. There's literally nothing coming back from the crowd, and I'm with you, mate. Like you said, that's the only thing for me. Maybe go to like a new, when their 1000th episode is in New York. Really? Obviously, don't go to. Obviously, they're not in. I think they're in Rochester, New York. But go to these venues: New York, Chicago, Montreal, Detroit, London. You know what I mean? When you get to these places. Go somewhere where you're going to get a raucous crowd who are going to be into it, and who are going to, they might not have watched Impact for ages, but there's a live wrestling show on. They'll come and support the product, and that will help with your product, and that will help people want to watch more. Because I can guarantee you that when it starts up in a couple of weeks over here on Sky, I can guarantee you some people are watching, but because they're going to be like we were last week. They have to kind of get their AEW, WWE heads off and go, what the. The in-ring talent is fantastic.
Yeah,
it really. Today I really struggled with getting my head around. I'm not watching SmackDown, Raw, or Dynamite, Collision. Anything else. I really had to. Even Ring of Honor don't have crowds, and they're in a tiny. I think they're in the old Impact Zone in Florida, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they do a lot of their shows. Well,
so they do a lot of their shows there, but even they didn't look like they had just had 10 pints and fallen asleep.
Yeah,
because that's what this crowd was like, mate. So for me, Impact, if you can, go to these better venues or better cities and towns and just get your crowd better. It'll help your product.
It will, because it'll make a big difference. Everything else is there.
The talent, brilliant.
The commentary.
Yep.
Everything's there. The storylines they're doing all work. I mean, from 2 weeks, I mean, we've only been seeing this 2 weeks, but everything they've been doing has been great. But
I agree. It's
the crowd that's just. If you could hear them, that was the thing. We mentioned it when the Cody Deaner was shouting at whoever it was, Alan Angels at the top, and you could hear him. Loud, as loud as what you can hear me and you talking now. You could hear it. The crowd were like,
they were literally comatose, mate. I don't know what they put in the beer out there, but I don't have a pint out there, mate, because it was.
But other than that,
mate, another solid Impact show. I'm really enjoying the in-ring and the backstage promos, and I'm really enjoying what Impact Wrestling are doing right now. Yeah, like you said, I just hope they can get them crowds to. I think we'll see a difference in Australia. I think it'll be amazing.
Yeah, well, that's next week, isn't it? You said
next weekend. Yeah, next Saturday and next Friday and Saturday. Impact in Australia.
Before that, and then we'll be going.
And then Slammiversary is in like July the 15th, so we're only a couple of weeks away from that. So hopefully that crowd, depending, but do we know where that is?
Where Slammiversary is, Windsor, Ontario. I told you earlier.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So that should be a good crowd. That should be. I'll reach out to a couple of my mates in Canada and ask them what the Dave Simon who listens and Johnny North who listens to us. They're Canada based, so they'll know. But yeah, for me, mate, I'm really enjoying Impact, mate. I'm pleased we get to sit down and review it again. Yeah. We will be back over. We've got Forbidden Door preview. We've got Forbidden Door review show. We've got SmackDown. We've got Collision. Yeah, we've got quite a lot going on this weekend. But Forbidden Door is this. Are you looking forward to Forbidden Door, mate?
Oh my Christ! And I'm looking forward to the Impact one as well that they're going to be doing. Multiverse.
Yeah,
that comes on. I'll be all over. Listen, anything. The only thing I'm not going to enjoy is trying to pronounce the names.
I'm only coming on the show to hear you do it.
They should be for us, mate. They will be the one doing the names on that one.
Dave, tell Adam you can't make that show just for a laugh and turn up 10 minutes in.
I will do it, but it will be. I mean, you know what I'm like with Takeshita, so it's. But no, I'm really looking forward to that. And as I say, the multiverse, the Impact are going to put on in Japan as well. Why don't they do that over here?
Mate, honestly, I reckon once Impact's more established, I've said this to you before we started recording, I wouldn't move it to London. I'd put on as many shows as you could, though. I understand that money comes into it and everything like that. But especially, like you say, now it's back on Sky, and I think hopefully that's the way they're going. I think, because obviously I know it's obviously showing over in Australia on TV. Now it's back here, and give it a couple of months. Don't expect results overnight. Give it 2-3 months. Hopefully, maybe by the end of the year, come Christmas time or the beginning of next year, host something big in the UK and give us record an Impact and then have a pay-per-view here the same week.
Yeah.
You watch what this audience does for your brand. It'll be incredible. I big up the UK audience all the time. You don't have to for WWE and AEW. We know that Money in the Bank and SmackDown is going to be incredible. We know that Wembley Stadium for AEW is going to be incredible. Impact can tap into that on a smaller scale and watch your company go, in my opinion, mate. But another good week of wrestling reviews, wrestling interviews. Make sure you go and check us out on all social media. Hitting the turn at HTT Buckle on Twitter.
It's a big week for us to buckle up next week.
Buckle up next week. So next week we're going to be interviewing a lot of talent from Buckle Up. July the 23rd in Boreham Woods. We've added more. We've had to add more tickets. It's pretty much we are going to break the attendance record down there in Boreham Wood. So anyone that can get to Boreham Wood on July the 23rd, come say hi to myself, Dave and Adam and Munsey. We're all going to be there watching it. Rachel, all the Buckle Up team are going to be there. Fiona's coming down from Scotland. They're amazing. The queen of UK wrestling is coming down. Honestly, I can't big up this card enough that Ignite are putting on. Some of the best in-ring UK talent is going to be on this show. So July the 23rd, all the links are on our socials. Go and get it. But you can check us out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. I didn't forget any this week, did I?
No, I think you hit it on there today.
Get in there.
Bang on Apple Podcasts. There you go.
Apple Podcasts. Yeah, you can find us on all. Yeah, those of you who don't watch on YouTube, you can find us on Google Pod, Apple Pod, Spotify. We're everywhere nowadays. Just search Hitting the Turnbuckle. But it's been another good week of talking wrestling. We're going to do it over the weekend as well. There's more content coming out. AEW, we've got SmackDown, we've got Collision. But thanks everyone for tuning on. We really do appreciate the support. We do enjoy interacting with you on Twitter. Try not to.
We've got a guest from Twitter.
Don't give Adams. Yeah, we've got Josh coming on with us to do the AEW show this show. So, Josh, we're looking forward to welcoming with you. Try not to get in too much beef in the next 24 hours on Twitter ads. Just, calm my notifications down.
I'll refrain for the next few days. As long as someone don't post something absolutely bloody ridiculous.
Yep. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Hit the Turnbuckle podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my amazing co-host, tag team partner, Mr. Adam Cousins. Bye-bye. Till next time, buckle down. Stay safe.